Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are filming at night. Not really at night, it's actually 5 minutes to 6, but welcome to late January. Welcome to late January in Virginia. So, all right, we are going to tackle something that I heard that was so funny. And the comedian, I heard it say it, and this could have been said 1,000 times, but it's the first time I'd heard somebody say it, or it's the first time it registered when somebody said it. And it was John, I think his name's John Christ. I think that's his name. He's a comedian. He's on YouTube. It's pretty funny. He said, everyone wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. And I can't remember exactly what the joke was. Something about group texting, but that's really, the point was, that is so funny and so true. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Everybody wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. And what exactly does that mean as far as ascension and awakening and our journeys go? Why does that start to come into play? Why does everyone want a village? Well, everyone wants to feel companionship, right? Everybody wants to feel that unity. You know, these are kind of the banner, the banners, the banner ships. I can't remember what they used to call it in marketing, but these are like the big things that kind of get you in the door, right? It's kind of like the Black Friday sales when, you see the TV for like $10 and everyone wants that TV, or it's how they used to do it. Now everything's online, but people are lining up to get all these deals because it's the flagship. That's the word I'm trying to find, the flagship. It's kind of the flagship, right? What gets you into Ascension is, our awakenings start with everything it's going to start in different ways. Some people just start getting very bored with their life and they say it's got to be something more because I got everything I wanted and I'm not happy, right? So that can kick some people into their ascension. You can have, and sometimes just I have everything I wanted but I'm not happy gets them to keep going out into physical looking for stuff. A lot of people call this like the midlife crisis, But what that is that's kind of pushing people into their awakening in a sense. So they'll go out and do something, and then they might lose everything they thought they had because of something, decisions they make. And all of a sudden they're pushed into their awakening because they lost everything in a sense. Or you're on the other side, which is the side I was on, where you almost got everything you thought you ever wanted, and right before you had it all kind of blew up in your face. You're going to be in one camp or the other. There's probably a lot of iterations of the camps, but those are two things that push everybody kind of into their awakening or into their ascension. And one of the things that gets us to start looking outside is that nothing over here works anymore. We're not happy. We didn't get we're not getting the Disney ending we thought we were going to get. We're not getting the stuff we thought the human life was going to give us. We're not getting satisfaction we wanted out of it. Everything is so externally focused, and everyone has to look a certain way or do a certain thing, or it starts going the opposite way where now everyone's kind of doing their own thing, but everyone's still trying to conform in some way, even though even rebels are trying to conform by being rebels. They're being all rebellious together. It's just this whole kind of part of the journey where nothing really starts to work, and that's kind of what makes us go into our awakening. I mean, yes, it's genetically programmed into our body. We get to certain parts, certain times, and we're like, okay, it's our time now. It's my time now. That's why it's so hard to move people when it's not their time. And you're not going to, you're not going to you can't drag anybody into awakening with you. You can't drag anybody into ascension with you because it's very DNA coded, right? So no one's going to want to go with you if it's not their time. Because if they're getting any ounce out of human realities, they're not going to ditch them all and go with you on this wild ass journey to what looks like we don't even know where we're going, right? But the promise we have is, but it's going to be, everyone's going to be together. There's a unity somewhere. And eventually we'll get to that. What is unity consciousness? You see that word thrown around all the time. And what is this village? Everyone says, oh, we're going to make a village. Everybody wants to have this village where everyone works together and everyone's working for a common goal. And, you kind of see this a little bit play out on that new show, what's it called? Pluribus, where there's this can't remember what they called it, joining, where everyone kind of got this upload or download of higher consciousness That's what it seems like for now. Like I said, it's only 4 episodes in, so this show could go in a totally different direction, but that's what they lead you to now. And everyone's happy and joyful, and everyone's connected. Everyone's sort of sharing a hive mind. And in a sense, that is what higher conscious ascension is. Not so much a hive mind, but you have access to everybody's knowledge. That's why a lot of people kind of repeat a lot of the same stuff, because we're all tapping into the unified field. That's basically what it is. And you see how much things can get done when everybody works together. There's a lot of different ways they're doing things. You can see really how that village concept works. They're taking all the power, and if people are not in an area, we're going to cut the power off here because no one's using it. We're wasting resources by doing this. We're wasting resources by stocking these grocery stores, and all this food goes bad. We're going to take all the resources and put them here, and that's what kind of this show is. Part of what it's exploring is how people would work together in that kind of village format, right? Now, why doesn't it work? Why can't we do that now? Like, everybody kind of wants the village, but nobody wants to be the villager. Nobody wants to give up on the personal journey for their own gain. That's a lot of words. Let me see if I can simplify that. There's no I in team, okay? We've heard this a zillion times, right? There's no I in team. There's no me in. Is there a me in team? There might be a me in team. Actually, it's not exactly me, but we could flip the words around and get one. There's people. When you're still in a human consciousness, moving into your awakening, even the beginning of your ascension, we don't understand what that means. When you see a show like Pluribus and you see all these people and how everyone works together and everyone, all the stuff and how fast they can get everything done because everyone comes together, knows what they got to do, and everybody gets it together. Everyone's on the same frequency bandwidth, which that's not really how it works, but for this show, that's what kind of they're showing, and everyone can get everything done. They know what's going on, what has to be done, how quick things can be done, how, a lot of the stuff we do now, even the way we stock grocery stores, how it is kind of wasteful. And it's more for one person getting satisfied with something than really looking at what's good for everybody and what's good for all the resources, and how do we not waste so much? How do we make sure everyone has what they need and require? And this is something that's gotten very lost in our human consciousness, and it's gotten very lost as we've been really embedded with our human consciousness. We've lost that connectivity, right? So we all kind of want it, but we don't really want to have to get up on what I individually want. I individually want one thing, and if I am going to be now part of the village, then it's more what's best for the group, not what's best for me. But we want to be in the group, but we don't want to have to sacrifice what we want to be in the group, right? So we go through that for a bit. And when I say a bit, that can be it's years, okay? You're not going to work through any of this stuff within 6 minutes, 6 months. This is deeply ingrained stuff we have to look at. We have to pull it apart. We have to understand, why do I want this stuff? What is the programming behind why, I want this stuff for me? Because a lot of the beginning of our journey, we still want this stuff for us. We still want this stuff. Sorry, that's the dishwasher. I forgot I was running that, so hopefully that's not too distracting. There'll be a little background noise. There's probably a lot of background noise today. That's what happens when you shoot at night. This is what happens. You get all the things that happen after dark here. We have to kind of make that shift to what's best for everybody, and that does include us. But we're not the only people in the conversation. We're not the only person we're concerned about. In human consciousness, that's all we care about is ourselves and the people we have cords to. Right? The people we consider part of our family, whether it be blood family or our friends that are kind of part of our kind of adoptive family, or our found family. You'll see that a lot, the found family. We kind of care that they're taken care of, but we really don't give two shits about everybody else. Okay? We just don't care in human consciousness, because human consciousness, there's a me, okay? It's all about yourself, and that's why the shift takes so long. People want it, but they don't want to give up anything to get it, and that's why we get beaten down in a lot. Our awakening is a lot of stripping us down and breaking us down, okay? Because we have to kind of get over that. We have to kind of get over wanting to have all this stuff because it's what I want. I want everyone, you saw it so much when we started going through the whole COVID realities, how people were hoarding everything for their group, whoever their group was for them, and they didn't really care about anybody else. And there was some people who went the other way where they were, it did bring out humanity in some people, and other people, it just brought up a lot of the lack to clear. Purpose in both, but two different ways of looking at what it kind of sparked in people, right? The whole village mentality. Everyone wants to feel that inclusive and that a part of something, and knowing that if you require something, that person's going to be there. Okay, and that's why when you go from your human family to your ascended family, and I don't mean human family like blood family, I mean the people you were with. Those were your found family. You could be some of your blood family too, but the people you met and knew and grew up with or whatever in your human life, they're normally not in your ascended life, because when you get into your ascended life, that's you're looking for different traits. You're not looking for the same thing anymore. You care more about their consciousness, because you want to be part of a village. You don't want to be part of a team. Right? Maybe that's where I'm going with the whole team analogy. A part of a team means you're an individual, but you can come together and work together, right? A village, everyone has to pool their resources. Everyone has, for it to be successful. If not, there is no village. There's nothing. So you want to really look at, okay, I want that. Why don't I have that? What am I not willing to do? And there will probably be a laundry list of things you're not willing to do. That's why in human realities, it can't work. It's too much selfishness. You cannot have it in a human reality. Human reality now takes it and they twist it and they make this whole thing about, it takes a village. Yeah, it takes a village, but no one wants to make a village. They just want to say, yeah, I wish I had all that. Whew, I wish I had all that, but I don't, because I'm too concerned about myself. If I wasn't so concerned about myself, maybe I could do all that. And that's really what your awakening and ascension starts to kind of break down. Like, okay, I want to build this. And a lot of us get to a point in our journeys where you kind of want to start building that. You want to find people that care, that want to kind of go down the path with you, and not just show up when they want something and then they disappear when they don't need anything. And that's kind of more of what human realities were. They were, when they need something, they're there. When they don't need something, they're not there. And you start to really see that amplify when you get into who are you going to build your village with? Who do you want there? And for a while, I will tell you, it is a village of one, because no one's going to have the consciousness to be in the village with you, because no one understands what that meant, because we didn't understand what that meant. That is why the world operates the way the world operates now, because no one can really do this until you get to a consciousness where you understand what it takes and what is not part of that. An individual, what I want, when I want, that is not about a village. That is more about, yourself. And that's not that you have to want to look at the needs of everyone and not just yourself. Like I said, you're in there, but you're not the driving force of everything else. So I just thought it was kind of a funny thing to bring up for us to kind of delve into. And how do you know, right? How do I know if I am? Everyone always wants to know, like, where am I? What dimension am I in? How do I know? If you're still living, if you're still, anything about your ascended life looks like your human life, you're still setting in the fourth dimension, waiting for your ascended life realities to begin. Because they don't just begin, we have to create them. But we can't create them setting in our old realities. And that's the point I kind of want to end this on, as we've kind of gone all around the barn. When you're setting in your old realities, they are built on a different consciousness. That they are not built on the consciousness that you're going to require to actually move forward in building ascended reality. You really don't need any of it. There were building blocks that you used in human realities. You learned how to do certain things. I worked a lot in finance, right? I did a lot of different things, but there's one thing I did. And I did a lot of data load sheets and working with different software and learning how to look at a data load sheet, figuring out when the data wasn't loading. And, these are just stuff you do when you're loading budgets and that kind of stuff. All that stuff comes in later on. Everything we learned, we'll use, right? We'll use in our ascended realities. We use them in different ways, but we will use them. So it's not like it's not for nothing. But a lot of our realities, they have to be reshaped. They have to be reshaped because if you notice, they're all going to be centered on everything you wanted. In the beginning, a lot of your ascended realities, it's not what your human wants. It's the farthest thing from what your human wants. Your human doesn't want anything to do with them. It just wants to get the hell out of them. It does not want anything to do with ascended realities because they're structured so differently. They're structured to feed the soul. They're not structured to feed the human. And if the human is not getting fed and the human is not getting stroked, our human consciousness doesn't want anything to do with it. It wants to get out of there. It does not want to be in there at all, right? It has no desire to be there. So I didn't even know really where I was going with that one. So, that's what happens when we do our late night. Maybe I'll start doing more late at night or late night 6 o'clock videos. All right, that's it. Keep practicing the art of intuition.